Saturday, December 10th, is the Heisman Trophy ceremony. The Heisman Trophy winner will be announced. All four finalists are quarterbacks this year. You got USC quarterback Caleb Williams, TCU quarterback Max Duggan, Ohio State quarterback CJ Stroud, and Georgia quarterback Stetson Bennett. Caleb Williams has the best numbers of all these quarterbacks. I also think he's the best player of the four finalists. It's college football's best player is the official wording and description of the award. Not only is Caleb Williams the most fun to watch, he's the one I wouldn't want to play against. He's like a video game, and he does stuff that you can't even do in Madden or the NCAA game. Like, he makes defenders miss in crazy ways. It's like he rubber bands his body into weird contortions and slides off of defenders and throws the ball downfield. It's crazy. I recommend, if you haven't watched the Pac-12 title game against Utah, he lost, and I really hope the loss doesn't hurt him because he was let down by his team. His defense was atrocious. The loss wasn't his fault. But go watch the highlights of that game. He was making defenders miss and doing crazy stuff in the backfield and moving in the pocket and throwing the ball downfield. And oh my goodness, Caleb Williams is absolutely a menace to defenses. And to me, Caleb Williams is the Heisman Trophy winner. I just wonder if voters are going to be able to look past the loss at the end of the year to Utah. There's a fun dark horse. Stetson Bennett is not going to win. He's Georgia's quarterback, but I would be so happy if Stetson Bennett won because I think Stetson Bennett is underappreciated. And maybe him just going to New York and being a finalist at all is him getting the recognition he deserves. But Stetson Bennett doesn't have the most insane numbers, but the dude balled out at Georgia this year. I watched him a lot. And, last year, I would say the way to put it is Stetson Bennett won a national championship with a really good Georgia team around him. The team kind of pulled Stetson Bennett to the title, and they won with him. This year, Stetson Bennett got even better, and he is leading Georgia. He's the guy out front leading the team. Not carrying, not being carried, but he is leading the team to a national title. And I have watched Stetson Bennett in big plays against Bryce Young, Hendon Hooker, these really good quarterbacks, big-time games, and Stetson Bennett went toe-to-toe with everybody he played. And you're going to see in the college football playoff against CJ Stroud, Stetson Bennett is going to go throw for throw with CJ Stroud. And that's going to be surprising to a lot of people, but I've seen it all year. He's at a different level. And so for him being on the list at all is very, very cool. And I'm very, very excited. I must admit, the quarterback I am probably the least informed on, and I think it's important to admit this, is CJ Stroud, Ohio State's quarterback. I haven't watched a lot of CJ Stroud. I watched him 3 times this year. I watched him against Northwestern play kind of an ugly game. I watched him lose to Michigan, and then I watched some game early in the year where they dominated a bad opponent like Nebraska or something like that. I can't remember what it was. But, I think a lot of what makes CJ Stroud good, my impression, but remember, I've watched him only 3 times this year, so it's not a fair analysis. My impression is he's with a lot of great players around him and is made to look really good in the system he's in. Stetson Bennett, I don't know how to analyze CJ Stroud because I haven't watched enough. So he might win the Heisman Trophy for all I know, and I just don't know enough. And I think it's very important to admit that I don't know a lot about CJ Stroud. I'll do a film analysis at some point in this offseason if he declares for the NFL draft. But Max Duggan, TCU's quarterback, watched him all year. I watched so many TCU games. I loved watching this program because they played so many close, interesting games. Ohio State did not play in a lot of close, interesting games. They played in a lot of games where they dominated, and I'm more interested in drama and chaos and games that are tense down to the wire and end in the fourth quarter on the final play. And TCU did that a bunch of times this year, and Max Duggan made a lot of big-time clutch plays for TCU. I love his heart and his passion for the game. He's an awesome leader, and I just really, really admire Max Duggan. He's really a cool guy that I think I'd love to be friends with. And so I think my Caleb Williams is one. Max Duggan could win. I wouldn't be surprised. He took TCU to the college football playoff. The way he ended his year against K-State, They lost in the Big 12 championship, but he was like, dude, he was giving everything he had, and I think voters are going to remember that and believe in that. Stetson Bennett is my third choice, and then C.J. Stroud would be my fourth pick. It'd probably go Caleb Williams, Max Duggan, Stetson Bennett, C.J. Stroud. But again, I admit, I just haven't watched a lot of C.J. Stroud to know I could be way off base there. Here are the numbers for these four quarterbacks. Caleb Williams has thrown for 4,075 yards, 37 touchdown passes, 4 interceptions this year. He also ran for 10 touchdowns, so he accounted for 47 touchdowns this year for USC. C.J. Stroud, Ohio State's quarterback, threw for fewer yards, 3,340, 37 touchdowns alongside Caleb Williams, 6 interceptions, so more than Caleb Williams, and C.J. Stroud did not run for any touchdowns at all. So Caleb Williams accounted for 10 more touchdowns than C.J. Stroud. He also threw for more yards and had fewer interceptions. So numbers-wise, Caleb Williams is a more impressive option to win the Heisman Trophy than C.J. Stroud. If you're just looking at numbers, although there's a lot more factors that go into voting. Stetson Bennett threw for more yards than C.J. Stroud, 3,425, 20 touchdown passes, 6 interceptions. He also ran for 7 touchdowns. Not the most gaudy, crazy numbers, but look, I watched Stetson Bennett make a lot of impressive throws. He regularly got Georgia down along the goal line where they just ran the ball with power. That's why he's got fewer touchdown passes, because he played in a really good team that ran the ball really well in the red zone. Max Duggan, TCU's quarterback, threw for 3,321 yards, 30 touchdown passes, 4 interceptions. He also ran for 6 touchdowns. This is probably my second choice for the Heisman Trophy. But I think Caleb Williams, to me, if I'm voting, I would vote for Caleb Williams to win the Heisman Trophy. That's my prediction. It's who I think is going to win. But it's hard to know because voters are humans, and you don't really know what humans are going to go with. So I ask you the question, who do you think is going to win the Heisman Trophy? Please write in, let me know. I'm very curious to... I feel like this is such an ambiguous year where there's no clear, obvious Heisman Trophy winner. I think if Caleb Williams had beat Utah in the Pac-12 title game, he would be the clear and obvious favorite. This is why I'm predicting Caleb Williams, because a week ago he was the clear and obvious favorite, but since losing to Utah, you're like, I don't really know anymore. So we'll see. I'm predicting Caleb Williams, the USC quarterback, will win. But write in, let me know, what do you think? Who do you think is going to win the Heisman Trophy?